All right. Ugh. The way that you've come to understand batteries is all wrong. And if you're writing a VESC, you're going to have to be more knowledgeable about how they actually function. Before I continue into this subject anymore, please understand that I'm not an expert on this, I'm not a professional, and I'm not the most educated on this subject. And if you're someone with much more knowledgeable battery knowledge than I do, please do not cringe when I'm about to oversimplify very complex ideas. I know where I'm wrong. I just want to make this easy to understand and to be able to actually use. So let's start off by talking about how much battery you actually have. In most boards, like Future Motion or other PEVs, you are given a percentage of your state of charge that goes from 100 down to 0. A lot of our ride apps have similar percentages, and these values differ from app to app. You can have a percentage on VESC Tool, a percentage on Floaty, and a percentage on Flow Control, and even a percentage on like a Tech BMS app that comes with like earlier X7 and GTFO kits. You will start to notice subtle differences between all of these apps. Which one is correct and which one should you trust? First off, trust Floaty or Flow Control for any of your general information. These will oftentimes be more representative of your actual state of charge, but they can still be a little bit misleading. Instead of watching your percentage, you have to learn your voltages. Your battery is comprised of many smaller individual units called cells. If you have an 18S 2P pack, you have 36 of these cells. If you have a 20S 2P pack, you have 40 of these cells. 18S times 2, 20S times 2. And each battery pack can have different size cells, from a 21700 cell to an 18650 cell. Sort of like the difference between AA and AAA batteries. All these cells work together to form one larger unit of a battery. Each of these cells reach their maximum state of charge at 4.2 volts each. If you were to multiply this total voltage of a single cell by the amount of cells you have in series, like 18S or 20S, you'll come to the total voltage of your pack, 75.6 or 84 volt. Voltage is sort of like a measurement system, like inches or millimeters on a ruler, but instead of distance, it's available power in a given space. Let's bring it all back to just one cell for a second. If you were to apply the voltage method to measure how much you have left in the tank to a cell, you might instinctually think that 4.2 volts per cell is 100% and 0 volts per cell is 0%. But this is not the case. In reality, 4.2 volts per cell is 100% and 3 volts per cell is 0%. When we use batteries, we rarely deplete them completely of energy because in doing so would damage your battery beyond repair. Below 2.5 volts per cell, it begins to lose its chemical integrity and can literally explode. So we limit ourselves to the 4.2 and 3 volt range. Technically, there is a little bit more capacity underneath that 3 volt threshold, but it's not as strong as the top end of a battery, so it's of little use to us. It's like how your phone works faster at 100%, but much slower at like 10%. But even with this clarification, percentage is still not a good estimate of how much voltage you have left in the tank. Why? Because the speed at which we go from 4.2 volts per cell, or 100%, to 3 volts per cell, 0%, doesn't happen linearly, and it doesn't always happen at the same rate. Each battery pack can be made of different cells of different sizes and different characteristics. The Samsung 50S, or maybe any of Molicell's P45B, P50B, P28A, P30B, all of these cells act differently at different states of charge. 50S has a lot of capacity, but once you go below 50%, it loses a lot of that stopping power that it has at the top end. But P45B has nearly the same stopping power from top to bottom, but has slightly less capacity than 50S. There are many differences between all cells, and a single percentage is just far too simple to be able to pile in all of that information into one number. This is why in our apps, you have to select what battery type you have so that the app can apply a certain percentage to the measured discharge curve. But some apps like VESC Tool just apply a general curve, to everything and can become very inaccurate. So what's the solution for this complicated nature of our batteries? Learn your voltages. For an 18S battery, we know that 75.6 volts or 4.2 volts per cell is your top. 65.8 or 3.6 volts per cell is your middle, and 54 volts or 3 volts per cell is your bottom. When I ride, I usually take a glance at my BMS to see what my individual cell voltages are, so I don't have to do math to see where I'm at. Or I just memorize what my top, middle, and bottom are, so I can know when and where it's appropriate to push my board. Once you learn your board's voltages, your relationship and confidence with it will blossom. Let's talk about some general battery care and maintenance. If you plan on leaving your board alone for a long time, for let's say like more than a month, you need to take the proper precautions to storing it for long term. VESCs and BMSs can have a very subtle parasitic drain on them that will silently deplete a battery over time. It will not stop at 3 volts per cell. It will drain them completely empty, leaving you a dead board and potentially a fire hazard if you ever try to charge it back up again. Don't do that. Don't do that. Instead, if you're planning on not riding for a long time, you need to periodically check back in on your board's voltage and charge it when appropriate. Or just disconnect the ESC and the BMS from the battery and it can stay in a healthy state. If you want to do that, if you want to disconnect your ESC and your BMS from your battery so you can store it long term, you have to do it at around 60 to 70% or 3.6 to 4 volts per cell, and then disconnecting it. At the troubleshooting portion of this video, you saw that I had high and low voltage pushback issues. My board did not have these set correctly, and both floaty and float control were screaming at me to correct them. High voltage and low voltage pushback are two settings that serve as warning indicators, and they are both extremely important. You can find both of these settings in VESC tool, refloat, specs. High voltage pushback protects us from overcharging our battery, like if you were to brake at a full charge, or if you were to regen down a really steep hill at a full state of charge. Both of these will regen and fill your battery beyond its capacity, like an overinflated balloon. They can handle some inflation, but not too much, or they'll burst. Low voltage pushback will start to tilt back to warn you of your battery's voltage being too low at 3 volts per cell. But here's a tip in case you find yourself in the middle of the woods with a low battery and you can't get out. This low voltage pushback value can be lowered by just a few volts to get you a tiny bit of gas left in the tank. This might allow you to creep back to a charge spot or back home if you feather it, but doing this is not recommended, even though I'm recommending it. It's very much a last resort. If you do this often, or if you do it too much to the point where you drain your battery really, really low, you will damage your battery beyond repair, opening it up to long-term capacity issues and possibly even battery fires. If you do change this value, be sure to set it back to its original value once you're back home. I want to explain some basic concepts about how your BMS works and how chargers usually work, and how to spot things when they go wrong. When a charger is plugged into the wall, it'll usually display a green light indicating that it's receiving voltage and is idle. It'll turn red once plugged into the board and starts charging. Depending on your BMS setup, you should be able to connect to your BMS via VESC tool in the BMS section or through the LideTech app for other older X7 BMSs and GTFO BMSs. In these apps, you'll be able to see every cell and its state of charge. Your battery will begin to balance at the top end of its state of charge at around 4.2 volts, and most BMSs will refuse a charge if it is below 3 volts.